Today we'll be doing open house and capturing leads with open house. How many of you guys have done an open house before? No one. Okay, great. So this is going to be an interesting class. My name is Nohemi Ramirez. I've been doing real estate for 40 years now, and my main source of leads is open houses. When I first started, I didn't like door knocking. I didn't like cold calling, and I wanted something that actually applied to me. And that was open houses, because I felt that it was my space where I could actually come and be myself and talk one-on-one to someone that was actually looking to buy a house, right? When we do cold calling, we're calling random people that we don't know if they want to buy a house. We don't know in what stage in their lives they are to actually, if they actually care about hearing real estate or if they just don't want to talk to us, right? But with open houses, you're actually get people that actually want to buy a house to show up. So it's way easier for us when we start. So here we go. Okay, so in this class, what are we going to learn? We're going to learn how to generate our leads for our database, capture leads with open houses, and do a little social media. I know that you guys went over these number 5, 6 already. So we're doing capture leads with open houses today. But I kind of want to integrate the other two into this class because we actually get leads from the open houses, right? Okay, so today's agenda: capture leads with open house, best practice, prepare, prospect, and pursue, our recaps, and our daily success system. Nothing else about your business will have as big as an impact on it as the number of leads you have. Okay, let's start talking about our limited leads. I don't have a listing to hold an open house. That's our main problem when we start, because usually the listings is, you already have a listing, then you should do an open house. But if we don't have a listing, what should we do? Any ideas?
Well, call to see if there's an agent who's willing to let us do an open house.
Perfect. Call. The main problem that I see is a lot of people, when we start, we say, okay, let me call the brand new listing that's on the market, right? So we see something that just came up on Thursday and we want to do that open house. That, in my opinion, is one of the mistakes we do. Why? Are you ready to handle 20, 30 people at a time in that open house? No, because it's our brand new open house that we like. If you're just doing this for the first time, you're like, what am I going to do if I have 20 people there at a time, right? So what do? We try to get open houses that have been sitting in the market. Those are the best ones. If this is going to be your first open house you'll ever do, go after one that has been sitting in the market for 30 days. Why? Because you're only going to get 1 or 2 people. And that's okay. All we need is the 1 or 2 people to start feeling the confidence in us to say, I got this, I could handle this. So call those leads, and most likely, if you call an agent that has been having a house sitting in the market for 30 days, they're actually going to say, sure, please, thank you, right? Most of the time, you're begging someone to let you do the open house, but if it's been sitting in the market, they're going to say, sure, thank you for helping me, right? And even if one person shows up, at least you're able to talk to that one person and say, practice, right? Practice your speech, practice what you, even practice putting up the signs. There's even a method for that. I mean, every single time I drive by open houses, I see, and they always have like, just on one side. Well, you're missing another corner. You need to make sure you cover all your angles, your corners in, when putting up the signs. The same way with any kind of advertising, right? I like doing advertising, like if I see a liquor store near my open house, well then let's put up signs in the liquor store. Going back to getting the open house from, a house that has been sitting for 30 days or what, You call and you, before you call this agent, you guys have to check with all your surroundings to the open house. Example, there's a school. There's a school near the open house. Well, then maybe let's do our open house Monday to Friday on a random times, maybe 2 to 6. Because that school is gonna generate that traffic. And that's what we're looking for, right? Most of the open houses that are being done what?
In the week.
Weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And do you guys believe that that open house has probably had, how many open houses if it's been sitting in the market for 30 days?
Yeah, we see.
At least 8, right? But if we do it on a random schedule, Monday to Friday, from 2 to 6, how many of those open houses has that house had? Probably none. So you guys are capturing a different kind of audience now. We're capturing the audience of people that are either on the outside on the weekends with their family and they don't have time to go look at houses. Maybe they haven't even thought of buying a house. It's been in their heads, but they're like, you know, should we do it? You know, we don't even know where to start. But now they see you guys, they're walking with their kids back home and they see you guys and they're like, let me stop by. So now you guys got a different kind of audience that everybody else didn't. Okay, so I don't have signs yet. What do we do if we don't have signs? We buy some, but what if we don't want to invest it just yet, or we don't have the money to invest from them? We could borrow, right? Especially if you are holding an open house for someone, you could ask them, do you want me, could I use your signs? Most of the people like you guys using their signs because their information is on there. So you guys could borrow, you guys could buy some. Do not let not having signs stop you from holding an open house. Okay, I may not have to answer some questions visitors have. That for me is a big pet peeve. Because if someone comes into your open house and they say, hey, what's that school next to it?
Oh, we shouldn't.
And you don't know, then you just look like, I don't know if I want to do business with you. I mean, you're the expert on this house, but you don't even know what school. Or what grocery stores are around there. Or what's the freeway nearby. It's important that we do our homework on every open house we do. So they don't get you off guard. You need to know the answers. And I mean, after a while, you almost know what the questions are gonna be, right? They're not gonna come and ask you, well, how's, if you're holding an open house in Carson, well, how's the weather in Gardena? No one's gonna ask you. They're gonna ask you in specific to wherever you're doing an open house. If it's in Carson, then they're gonna ask you about Carson. If it's in Gardena, then they're gonna ask you about Gardena. They're gonna ask you about the school, which is very important for most people, right? Especially if they're buying a house, their kids, right? What schools are around there, activities, whatnot. Okay, open houses don't really work because most people look online. What do you guys think about that?
No.
Okay, well, but you're doing it online, but remember, a lot of our audience is not always the internet savvy ones, right?
Well, and most people, I feel like, even myself, like when it comes to bigger purchases, cars, furniture, whatever, like you wanna see, you wanna feel, you wanna.
You wanna
Like,
go,
you're afraid of buying something online just by looking at it online.
a lot of the people that I get into my open houses, they come and say, my agent doesn't wanna come with me. And most of them say, I'm not happy with my agent anymore because my agent doesn't have time for me. So they actually are looking for an exit out of their old agent. So that's a big benefit for the people, the person hosting the open house. It's a benefit for them because if they like your personality, if they like what you're saying, then guess what, you just got and you.
But if they're under contract with the,
They could cancel their contract.
oh, they can't?
Yes.
Okay.
If they're not happy with you, they could cancel their contract. Even if they're under contract. Okay, I won't feel safe. I mean,
Depends on the area.
it all depends on the area, correct? If there's an area where you're like, it's sketchy, just, not every house has to be done an open house. You guys have to always protect yourself and make sure that it's an area that's safe. Another idea would be bringing someone with, right? Sometimes we have to start utilizing our lender partners. sometimes the lenders will be like, I'll go and do the open house with you, or bring someone else that is new, right, that wants to learn. Okay? Okay, who benefits from an open house? Sellers, buyers, neighbors, and you as an agent. Why does the seller benefit from an open house?
All right, closing your house.
Maybe a better offer. The buyers, why does the buyer benefit? Okay, the neighbors,
You get to, I mean, if you can, you try to choose who your neighbor's gonna be,
You
like
try-
if you know somebody, a friend, or. Right, you can say like, hey, I have a buddy who's looking to buy and I would prefer him to buy, like, how can we get him?
okay, the neighbors also, what if they didn't know their house was worth that much, right? What if there's a neighbor that thought their house was worth only 500,000 and now the house that you have on the market is worth 600? So for you guys as the agent, that's a benefit, because what if little old Miss Rosie comes in and says, well, I thought my house was only worth 400. And you know that you could get them an offer for 600. So now you as the agent can say, well, are you planning to sell? I could come and give you a listing presentation and tell you what, how much you could actually net if your house is paid off. And then now maybe she's realizing like, okay, I live solo, my kids are grown up, I do want to sell. That's how most of the leads come from when you're holding an open house. Okay, and obviously you as the agent, you're gonna generate leads. Now you're gonna grow your database on all those phone numbers that you're getting. Okay. The benefits of it. Okay. Oh, we're not there yet. Okay. For this, be safe, again, like we were discussing, use the buddy, arrive early, park on the street, check all the entrance and exits, make sure your cell phone is fully charged, turn on the lights, check your local COVID guidelines, follow the market, center guidelines and checklist for open houses. Okay, let's read this one. The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and focus. I have something interesting on this one. So when I first started in real estate, I spoke to someone and I said, you're a top producer and you don't phone call and you don't lead generate. Like, what are you doing that works for you to actually have all these clients? And this top producer said, instead of me being in an office, trying to call people day and night, and they're hanging up on me, they're not paying attention, I make the open house my office. So he made it into a personal habit to hold at least 4 open houses during the week. Why? He knew that some of these open houses, people might not even show up, especially if it was on Monday on a, from noon to 4 or on awkward times. But he was there. He had the door open. He was able to make his calls from the open house. He was able to answer his emails and do all his work, but he was waiting there for someone to actually show up. If you're not gonna go door knocking, if you're not gonna go cold calling, then you might as well be in an open house. Because all we really need is that one client. If that one person shows up to your open house, then you're golden. If they're the ones that wanna buy that house, now you're gonna be representing them, or maybe they wanna list their house, right? Maybe they wanna say like, hey, I'm ready to list. And even though the house has been sitting in the market for 30 days, maybe it took them 30 days to make that decision, if they were ready to list or not. So during the week, you guys have to make a decision of saying, okay, how am I gonna lead generate? How am I gonna get my clients this week? And if you guys are just like me, that hate cold calling because you guys don't like people hanging up on you, and you guys don't like door knocking because you guys don't like dogs chasing you around the area, then the open houses are the best bet for you guys. Okay, how do we prepare for an open house? This is important. I feel that a lot of people sometimes they say, okay, well, you know, this one lady giving the class did say I have to do an open house. So I'm just gonna show up to the open house and pray that people actually show up. But people don't actually prepare for it. How do we prepare for an open house? Well, we make a list or a sign-in sheet. Sometimes you guys could get them from title. Or you make your own. You could generate it on what information is important for you, right? The name, phone number, email, address. Are they working with someone? Are they just looking around or are they already pre-approved? You know, all that basic information that you guys could get in there so you guys could enter into your database. That's preparing. Another way that I like preparing is asking my title rep for phone numbers of buyers in the area or people that are renting in that area. That's the right way to look for it. People that are renting in the area, give me the 100 phone numbers of people that are renting in this area that I can call and invite to my open house. You would call them maybe Thursday, Friday, if the open house is on a Saturday, and just say, hey, you know, my name is Nohemi Ramirez. I am hosting an open house on Saturday from 1 to 4, and it would be an honor if you could join us. Oh, but I'm not ready to buy. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna be having cookies and, you know, some refreshments, and I would love to just have a conversation with you so you could tell me a little bit more about the area. That's it. It doesn't have to be like, well, what do you mean you don't want to buy? Then don't come. No, we want it. We want people to come and meet you because they might not be in the position to buy now, but they'll take your card or they'll take your information. And when they are, they'll call you if they like your personality and they like what you have to say. If you don't want to call to invite them, maybe just door knock and give out flyers and say, hey, you know, but now you have a reason, right? Because before, when you're just door knocking to see if they want to buy, you don't have a paper in your hand. Now you're gonna come in with the flyer from your open house and say, hi, just wanted to drop this off. I'm gonna be having an open house tomorrow from 1 to 4. And then a lot of people will look at it and be like, hey, and they might have a question right then and there. Or they might not, and they might show up to the open house the next day. So that's a good way to prepare. Another way to prepare, like I said earlier, is getting information, right? The schools, the places that are around the area that are important for the people, the freeways, all that information that you're gonna have to present when you're actually hosting the open house. Okay? So, like we said, prepare your mindset, practice conversation. So that's important. What are you gonna say? Someone shows up to your open house, and how do you greet them? What is the best way to greet someone when they come into the open house? Anyone? Yep.
Enthusiastically.
I'm sorry?
Enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically, great, yes. Okay, welcoming. Usually the best way for me is they come in, welcome. Hi, welcome to the open house. My name is Nohemi Ramirez. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to walk around and you start telling them a little bit about what you have. You know, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, built in 1954. It does, you know, the seller did just upgraded the roof or something important about the house that they might not see, right? It's important that we make them feel like, hey, we know this house is nice. Feel free to walk around and enjoy it. Okay, so here's like a little breakdown. If you already know that you're hosting an open house on Saturday, so Monday, select the house, okay? Tuesday, post online, walk the neighbors, invite the neighbors to the showing. Post online is important because it benefits you guys as agents to let your database know that, hey, I'm an agent and I'm having an open house. They might not show up to your open house, but at least now they're seeing that you're an agent, right? So we're utilizing the having an open house to post it online. We do it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, whatever you have, put it on there. You can even put your flyer. That would be a good way of just, you know, doing some social media there. And like I said, printing out the flyer and taking it to your neighbors and inviting your neighbors to actually show up. Wednesday, post it online again and install a yard sign. That one, I mean, if it's not your listing, then you might not be able to do a yard sign, but at least posting it online again will, maybe in your stories now. Thursday, do it again and invite their database. I like using MailChimp to send out, the emails to my database, or we could use it through command as well. Friday, post online again and prepare the market statistic, print flyers and door knock. They say a good way to lead generate an open house is by door knocking 100 doors of your neighbors. What clients like to know? Community and neighborhood information, relocation information, first-time buyer specifics, and mortgage information. That one's important for me. If someone comes to your open house and they weren't looking, but they actually saw the house and they like it. One of the common questions that I get asked is, how much is my payment? Well, how would we know how much is the payment of this person if we don't even know their credit? We don't know how much down payment they're gonna give. We don't know any information about them, right? So at this point, what we do, I personally like having a cheat sheet paper of saying, well, if they give 20% and their credit is around 750, then their payment is this. If they're a first-time home buyer, 3.5%, and their credit is this, their payment is this. But we always tell them this is an approximate, and let me have your phone number, and I will have my lender give you a call. Because now you're engaging into a follow-up conversation with them. Now you're able to tell them, hey, from a conversation on Saturday, here it is, me Monday following up and giving you the exact information based on your exact information, right? And again, like I said, we could invite a lender. We could invite a lender to our open house and have a lender there to ask some questions. I mean, I know personally when I go, I always take my lender with me. Because my lender could qualify them on the spot, my lender could answer their questions on the spot, and there's lenders that want to do that. Okay. Okay, so you need to build trust and provide value, capture information, and quality leads. So again, like I said, build trust. They need to trust you. They need to see that you're actually know what you're talking, that they're able to rely on you on whatever information you're bringing from these open houses. Greet everyone that comes in the door, engage in conversation, and be positive. This is the best way to build trust with people. Okay, provide value, know your team stats, know your market stats, understand personality types, have something to offer to the visitors. Sometimes, the wife walks in there really hopeful that she's gonna love the house, but the husband's like, I hate this. It's too much money. So you have to be able to make sure that you understand everybody in it, even the little kids, right? Sometimes the little kid is running around, they're being loud, and you can't go and make a face. Why? Who brought the little kid? We have to be sure that we understand everybody, because this is the people that you're going to be working with. Okay. Capture information. Like I said, we have to have a sign-in sheet. Use command. Use the KW app. You guys have the KW app? Okay. So if someone comes in there and they say, well, what's the best way for me to actually look for houses? Should we do Zillow? Should we do Redfin? No, you should be able to give your KW app and say, look here. Why? Because the KW app is gonna come back to you guys and say, hey, little Susie is actually on the KW app, and these are the houses that they're looking at. So now you could follow up with Susie and say, hey, Susie, you wanted me to show you the houses in Carson that you guys were looking at. So now it's a way for you guys to be engaged with them. Ask questions. I always like asking something important about them and making notes, right? Because if later you come back to that person and when you follow up with them and say, hey, how's your doggy? How's little Charlie? Then they're gonna be like, oh, you remember that I have a dog and that the big yard that I want is for little Charlie. So make notes about the people you're talking to. Or unless you have a great memory, then make mental notes. Remember, you're there to get leads and appointments. So it's important that every single phone number we get and name, we actually follow up with them, so it could generate us an appointment after. For to follow up and convert leads after the open house. Update your database, that's important, because this is how we start building our database. Follow up with all attendee. I always like following up and saying, hi, I just wanted your opinion on the open house. I wanted to know what you thought, how, did you guys like this house, did you not? What could we have done better, or why is this a no-go for you, right? I like getting their input on it, because then now we realize what's good on the house or what they're looking for, right? Sometimes it's not, the house is not the problem, but sometimes it's the paint. They need something bigger, they need something smaller. Reevaluate the goals you set. Did you succeed? What changes will you make next time? So if during this one open house you did, you were only able to call 20 people and only one person showed up, then what do we do next time? We call 40. Or we could get 2 people to show up. Or we call more, right? The more the merrier. Training gets better with your feedback. Give us yours. KW cares, gonna get too much on that. Mission. Planner open house, okay? How would we plan an open house? Now that we know this. I'm gonna go through the room. Pepe, how would you plan your open house?
I mean, I would ask the listing agent if they want me to use their signs or if I
Okay.
use my signs, and I'm hoping they're gonna use their signs.
Okay. And then,
I would also create a sign-in sheet
okay,
for the morning of, or whatever time I do it, like 2 hours before or something. I would go put the signs in the corner streets or whatever it is to attract traffic. I would reach out to the neighborhood, at least 100 homes, either calling, door knocking, or both. And then my database, I would reach out to them to let them know I would have an open house at that date, that time. Trying to think of anything else.
anybody else wants to add?
In the area.
Learn the area, it's important. I mean, it's crazy when you go to an open house, when I walk into open houses and the listing agent is there. And, I always like asking questions, even though I know the answers, I wanna see if that's usually my best way to see how much knowledge the listing agent has. And I will ask them and say, hey, what school is this one? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, that's the worst thing you could do. Say, I don't know. Because if they're telling me that, I could just imagine what they're telling the people actually showing up, right? So you need to learn your area. If there's nothing else you do, at least learn the area. If you don't call, if you don't door knock, if you don't do any of that before your open house, learn, go on Google Maps, look at what you're seeing there, and say, okay, this is the area, this is what I need to know. A lot of people like actually asking how walkable is this, right? That's information that you could actually also search. Or they could say, well, what's your local fire department? How far is the fire department? How far is or one that I always get is, how close is the closest emergency room? If we don't know those little basic stuff for them, they're gonna look at us and be like, I'm just gonna get another agent, right? Because I need an agent that's knowledgeable. And remember, a lot of buyers, they expect you to be the expert of everything. And I know it's hard for us to become experts of every single city where we do an open house, but after a while, you will. Any house? Questions?
Can I ask something from Zoom?
Yes.
I just wanted to know, when is a good time to do the open house after getting the listing?
So, okay, after getting the listing, usually let's pretend you get a listing on a Monday, right? Monday, Tuesday. I personally like doing the first open house on a Thursday and I do it for the neighbors. So that way the neighbors feel special where you say, hey, this open house is only for the neighbors. Obviously, it's open for whoever wants to actually show up, but we make our neighbors feel special. We say Thursdays is the neighbors open house, and then Friday is, depending on the area, but it's brokers open, and then Saturday and Sunday open to the public.
So you do it, as I understood, the same week, and you do it before you even put it on the MLS, right? To make it easy.
No, we have to put it in the MLS.
Okay.
So let's pretend you get your open house on you get your listing on a Monday where you already have pictures and everything. Usually the photographer I use, he's pretty fast. If I send him out on a Tuesday, I have them by Wednesday. But it all depends. You have to plan it. But ideally after you have pictures and you don't want to leave it on the MLS either for too long, because remember, the more days it's on the MLS, they're counting against. And after a week, people are going to want to ask for credits. So you want to do it as soon as you put it on the MLS that same weekend.
Okay, thank you.
If that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So recap. Open house, the best practices are set goals for your open houses, pick the house, prepare and practice, pick the time, prepare stats, and be safe. Benefits of open houses, inexpensive, prospecting tools, ROI, quality leads, prepare, prospect, pursued, prepare, prospect, and pursue. Questions? Okay. Okay. How has your thinking changed? What ideas, mindsets were new?
I mean, the signage was interesting.
The
I've been calling like in the area where I'm kind of trying to focus on agents to see
Okay.
if I can do an open house for them. But what was interesting, I didn't know what we can do is like, if we don't have signs, we can just ask them to, like, hey, do you want me to use your sign?
Okay. I think for me, when I first started, one of the things that really benefited me was getting open houses that have been old, right? We all love the new open houses, but sometimes 90% of the time, the listing agent wants to open house the first weekend. And I mean, we don't blame them, right? We want to capture as many leads. But going after the open house, going after the houses that have been sitting in the market for 30 days plus, will it guarantee you that open house? Because most likely 90% of the agents out there are not trying to do those open houses. B, they'll let you prepare, right? If you're new and you're like, I really just want to start kind of getting my feet wet and not having such a huge traffic, then those are the best ones, because most likely you'll get just, 2 to 5 people. And C, you're practicing and you're building your database. Another thing that for me is important is doing them on the weird times. Because we all know the open houses are open, on the weekends, usuals, 12 to 4s. But what if all of a sudden you see an open house, on your way back from work, and you're like, hey, I didn't even know that, now you're capturing people that are like from that area that are thinking on buying or even selling, right? They're like, oh, yeah, that my neighbor's house was for sale, but I didn't have time this weekend to stop. Let me stop now, right? And they probably expect that there's less traffic, so now they feel more comfortable walking in there and having a good view at this house and actually asking the questions they feel like.
Would it be a different process in a way if it was like a condo
No,
open house, same
it would
idea?
be, yeah, it would be the same. Again, with condos, the only difference is sometimes you have to check with the HOA, right? If they allow signs to be put up, if they allow you to start knocking, that I always like double checking with the HOA, what their rules and regulations are. But it would still be the same thing.
I asked because there was one I want to call, but I haven't called because I was curious what the But it's, like to get in, there's a key door.
Okay.
So that's what I was asking, like. I
So for
would have-
those, I mean, usually there's a few ways you could handle them. You put a sign and say, please call this number, which that's my best, the one I like the most, just because now you're getting their phone number, right? Sometimes when they sign in, they'll give you a fake phone number because they don't want you calling them back. But if they have to call, so you can let them in, now you have their phone number saved onto your phone. And then you just come and get them. So that's the only difference, right? Others will allow you to leave the front door open and just put in a sign this way to the open house. So again, just depending, checking in with the HOAs.
And that would be with the HOA then, so not necessarily asking the agent.
I mean, you could ask the agent, it all depends on the agent you're talking to, right? Some of them will say, oh, you need to check, but
Gotcha.
yes.
How long were you doing, the listings that were past a month old? Like, how long did you do that for before you're comfortable doing the listings on like weekends? And, how do you transition from that? Like, how do you just say, can I come with you the first weekend, hope you do it now, the second weekend it's on the market? Like,
So basically, for me, it was once I started getting into the habit of, the process, the system. In all open, and every agent is different, right? You're gonna build your own system. You're gonna say, okay, this works for me. Maybe for me, calling 100 people and not necessarily door knocking works better, but for you, it might be like, let me call 50 people and door knock 50 doors, right? To invite them. So once you have a system in place and you have, I have like a cube that I hold all my stuff in it, right? I hold my books, my pens, I hold my, display, my flyer display, some booties just in case you need them. So you start getting into a comfortable zone where you're like, okay, now I'm ready for the big leagues. Now I'm ready to try to get the open houses. And it could take 2 weeks, it could take a month, it could take 3 months. I always tell my kids, and I apply this for everything, practice makes perfection. The more you practice it, the more you're gonna get better at. And you're gonna feel comfortable, where after a while, it's gonna be almost like if you need it. Like, I haven't done an open house probably like in a month or two, and I've been thinking like, hey, I need my open houses, what, like, I needed to feel back in the game, even though I'm busy with my other stuff. But after a while, you almost like wanna do that. And it's a good thing to do, right? Because, I know a lot of agents out there pay for leads. I'm against doing that just because, still, for example, it's very pricey. And most of those clients that you're getting out of there they have an agent already, and they're just using you to go open the door for them. Versus the people that actually come to an open house, I find them more authentic. They're honest. They might tell you like, hey, I have an agent. My agent wouldn't come with me. But at least they're not lying to you, they're not using you. You're having a conversation with them because now you're kind of using them. Because you already know that they have an agent, but you could practice with them. You could practice your information and say, oh, I did this, I should have done this better, or I should have said this, or I should have added, and you never know, they might just switch through with you. A lot of our clients that, they had an agent at one point. And they decided to work with us because they liked the service we were giving them better than their other agent. Any other questions? Yes.
So I've been going to open houses because I've been looking also.
Okay.
When you're at the open house, do you tend to, like, if it's only one person there, do you
Yeah.
tend to stay with them, or do you stay in the kitchen with your laptop? Like, what do you?
I actually like going with them because I like showing them the house where they feel comfortable. Remember, we only have a certain amount of time for them to feel comfortable with you and like you. If you let them go, if you say, well, go look around and let me know what you think, they're gonna go in, walk around. If it's not for them, they're gonna say thank you and leave. Right? Most of the time, the first house these people see, it's not the one they're gonna buy. So what we're trying to sell them here, it's us, it's not the house. So we need to actually go with them. We need to go with them and we need to be able to, tell them, hey, even though it sounds dumb, you need to walk in there and say, here's the bedroom, this is the master bedroom, here's the, show them, walk with them and stop them and say, do you have a question? You know, mention the floor, mention the lighting, go with them to the yard. Start asking them how they feel about this yard. You know, do you like grass? Do you not? Do you like the tree? I mean, just so you can start kind of getting to know them and they could get to know you and see if they want to work with you or not, right? Any more questions? Okay. Um, daily success system. How many conversations do you have on a day? How many contacts added onto your database? Have you done handwritten notes, social media engagement and enrichments? So conversations. I like having conversation with people because you never know, right? When we first start in the real estate, it's hard. I mean, it's all, we always say, well, it's easy for all these other agents because their database is of 3,000 people or whatnot. Well, how did they get there, right? We always like talking to our sphere. I remember when I started, I liked inviting my family to open houses. I liked inviting people that I knew. Because they could be your best critics. They could tell you what's wrong, what's right, how they feel, if you did a good job or not, and you have to actually take it and learn from it. Right? Sometimes we don't like depending on our personal sphere. I mean, nowadays with our phones, how many contacts do we have on our phones that we could actually reach out to on a daily basis? We should be trying to at least reach out to at least 10 people, and add 10 new contacts to our phones or to our database every day. How do we get these contacts? I mean, from the open houses, right? Add those phone numbers, follow up. If they say, wait, hey, I'm not trying to buy in 6 months from now, then make a note on there. Call this person back in 6 months, you know, or at least every month, send them out an email so they can remember you. Just in case they're ready to buy before the 6 months, then they say, hey, I met this one agent and he was great and I liked him and let me follow up with him. Handwritten notes, I mean, those are great. If they give you the address, not everybody likes giving the address, but if they do give you the address, I like sending a handwritten note. Maybe just, you know, go on Amazon, buy all these postcards and you get like 100 for whatever. And thank you for stopping by my open house. Here's my information. If you have any real estate needs, please reach out. And put a nice picture in the front or get a nice postcard from, and just write a handwritten note. I mean, you're not gonna write so many. Not everybody gives you their addresses, right? But the ones that do, usually are the neighbors. And those are the best ones because now if you know they're the neighbors and if you make notes when you were at the open house and you say, this is a neighbor, when the house actually sells, even if you didn't sell it, you're able to do a handwritten note to that neighbor and say, hey, your neighbor's house just sold for, you know, whatever, this amount of 800, 900, $1 million. Let me know if you want to sell your house. So it's a good way to keep that engagement going with the people that you did open house, you know, in that area with the neighbors. I always look at my sheets and it's always the neighbors that are giving out the open house, their addresses. For some reason, they want you to know that it was the neighbor stopping by. And it's a great way to just keep them informed because they're not gonna go back on Redfin, Zillow and say, how much is the neighbor's house sold? But if you send them that postcard and you tell them now like, hey, your name, and I always like this one. Every neighbor that stops by my open houses, they say my house is better. Well, if their house is better, then now you could write up, you know, you could put that on the note. Hey, your neighbor's house is sold for $1 million. Imagine how much yours could go. Call me, I'll let you know how much it could go for, right? Something where you keep that conversation going. Okay? Warning, do not call us. It's important that we check the phone numbers of people we call by making sure that if they're not on the call, do not call list. We don't want to get in trouble. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. That's important. That's what I was talking about when you asked earlier, well, could they cancel our representation agreement? Yes, they can. If they're not happy with you and they feel that you're not doing a good job, they're gonna cancel. Right? We need to make sure that we're giving that service to them and that they're happy and that they know we're taking care of. And unfortunately, when they're buying a house, people are stressed, people are nervous, and they expect you guys to be the experts. They do not need someone that says, well, yeah, you know, I'm stressed too. Well, if we're both stressed, then, you know, we need to find someone that's gonna keep us happy here, and obviously, we don't want them to change us. So you need to be the whole thinker, the one that's thinking, and keeping every situation under control. Okay, role play. Anybody wants to do some role playing of me showing up to their open house? Come on, this is the best way. We could all, practice here, someone? No one. Okay.
Come on, don't be shy.
No one?
Sure.
Okay, okay, so I'll pretend that I'm walking into your open house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it needs some work, okay? The house is, they obviously didn't do any upgrades to this house, and you could tell that the house has been like this for the last 20 years. In addition to, I did see, that there was a school nearby, and the open house happened to be during the time that the school, the kids were coming out. So I'm coming in. You wanna bring?
Yes, hi, my name is Roger Fong. I'm showing this home. Can you please come in? It is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-bath home. It's well loved. There's a school nearby. It's a highly rated school and it's a walkable distance for your children.
I don't have kids, I hate kids. I did notice it was kind of loud. Is it like this every morning?
It can be a little lively, in the morning, but we're not so close to school where they'll congregate near your house. So they'll usually just walk by and you probably won't even notice them.
How long is that? Am I gonna be there for like 1 hour doing these loud noisy kids?
No, so when I came earlier, I checked out the school. The school starts at 8 a.m. Mainly between 7:45 8 a.m. are most of the people that are coming through. But what I noticed is most of the parents are driving the kids directly up to the school instead of walking past your home.
How about when they get picked up? I mean, am I gonna be able to drive up to my driveway? With all this traffic?
You can, there's different ways to get to the home. And like I said, most people drive up to the school and the school is about over a block away. So they don't line up all the way to where your home is. They'll be on that, on the next street. You probably won't notice them unless you really want to go by the school.
Okay, let me take a look around and I'll tell you if I'm happy. So I go take a look around, I come back and I say, I don't like the house. It's horrible. I mean, it needs a new kitchen, it needs a new floor. I don't even know how old this roof is. You think your seller's willing to give me some credits? I think it needs at least $50,000.
Well, the home has been priced to already include these additions that we know that you may need to put in afterwards. So we've priced it competitive for you already.
You think you can find me a house with this same price, but completely remodeled in this area? I do like the area and I do need the 3 bedrooms to back, but I just want to move in ready.
I would love to try. I have a sign-up sheet here. If you could leave your contact information, I could send you the listings in this area and I'll be happy to show them.
Good, that's good. Any comments on how we did? No one, no, has anybody been through an experience like that?
That was pretty hard, honestly.
It was, and I'll tell you why. Most of the people walking in there, if they are serious buyers and they have an agent, they'll be like, right? Because at this point, they want to mess with you. They want to see if you're able to tell them you're gonna give them a credit. They're really pushing you to say, this house is not worth how much you have it for, because they're trying to get a discount. And that's usually what we're facing right now, right? A lot of people will come in there and say, especially the houses that we're gonna go after the 30 days plus, they know it hasn't been moving, obviously. So they're gonna try to push you and see how much of a discount could you get them, right? They're gonna say, well, I want 50,000. I mean, we all do. We all want, yes.
I think we should have just said yes to the 50,000 credit because you're gonna show all the offers to the seller anyways. So
Okay.
you can just mention like, oh yeah, we have multiple offers, so I can, like, we'll take the offer, the 50,000 credit, but I'm not gonna guarantee it's gonna be a yes.
But remember, we're not the listing agent, so we can't say we have the
Fire,
We're just an agent showing the house. So if we don't have that information, and if we say we have multiple offers, we run the chances of them not even wanting to write that 50, right? Because they're trying to get a discount. So if it would have gotten to the point where I said I wanted to write an offer, then that's where you say, okay, we could, obviously the first step is seeing if they're pre-approved. If they do have a pre-approval letter, then we could start talking about, sure, let's write up an offer, right? And let's present it to the buyer because, I'm sorry, to the seller, because maybe the seller will counter. Maybe the seller will say, we don't take your 50,000, but we'll take 25, or we'll take 30, or whatever it is, but at least now you're getting them engaged. But we can't say we have multiple offers on our house.
I didn't know what position.
Also, if we're doing, so I don't know if we said how long it was on the market for.
No, we didn't, but we
didn't.
were assuming that it was a 30-day.
Right, so if it's a 30 days, is it likely that we have multiple offers
But
already?
we don't. So if usually the houses that have been sitting in the market for 30 days are the houses that don't have a single offer, right? So those are actually in a way nicer because now if someone walks in there and says they want a credit, most likely you'll be able to get them. You'll be able to get them something. So it's nice for you guys because if you guys are representing them, especially if you contacted that listing agent and said, hey, could I do your open house? And all of a sudden you have an offer, then, and that's a conversation you guys could have with the listing agent prior to you guys doing open house and saying, hey, how flexible is the seller with this price? Just in case someone walks up and wants to get a price reduction or wants a credit, how flexible is the seller in letting us actually write up an offer for less? And 9 out of 10, the listing agent will say, hey, there's room. There's room for a $5,000 credit. There's room for us to do some sort of improvement. There's room for a price reduction. So those are the things that you might want to ask the listing agent, especially on these homes. Don't ask the listing agent how flexible is the seller with the price reduction if you're doing it the first weekend, right? Because they're gonna be like, okay, he's already trying to give up the farm and we're not even, this is our first weekend. But if it's 30+ days, then it's a nice conversation to have with the listing agent. I know with me, when they tell me, I'm like, we have some room, we have this. And obviously don't tell everybody that walks in, but if you see someone serious and they're like,
Well,
hey,
they bring it up to you.
yeah, if they bring it up and say, hey, obviously you're the agent here, doing the open house, how likely is the seller, to accept my offer with a $5,000 credit? Then it's something that you can say, of course, I could definitely try, let's put something in writing. Obviously, sellers are more motivated if they see something in writing versus if it's just a verbal thing.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, so before meeting a seller, so like just ask questions like, oh, are you gonna take a $50,000 credit?
Not necessarily ask that question, like, are you gonna take a 50, but ask the listing agent, how flexible is your seller? Are they willing to give credit? Are they willing to, do a price reduction?
Like before the open house. so you can
Before.
have an idea.
Remember, the more information you have on this house, the more experience you're gonna show to those buyers actually showing up. And another thing, if we're doing a 30+ day house, maybe on the first day, you won't have a single person showing up, and that's okay, right? That's okay. And I always tell people, if you're already calling this listing agent, don't ask for one day. Say, hey, I'm open Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. I mean, pick 2 or 3 days. If you're gonna do all this work around this house, at least make it be worth your time. Where if you're gonna call and door knock for these houses to come and see your open house, the last thing you want is to actually do all this work, do it on a random day on a Tuesday and only have one person, and then the next person that comes does it on a Saturday, and you did all this work, and then all these people came thanks to your effort. for the person doing it on Saturday. So pick a few dates, pick a house that you could actually, like I told you guys in the beginning, this one top producer that I spoke to, he would spend 1 to 2 weeks on the same house for 4 or 5 days during the week. Just doing that open house. He would take his laptop, work from there, and he actually got all his leads that way. Because these people were coming, they liked talking to him, now the neighbors were noticing him, right? The neighbors were seeing, he was the one doing the open houses, not even the listing agent was showing up. So what happened is the neighbors saw this person constantly putting up his signs in the same corner, and he wanted to sell the house. He was gonna go to the listing agent. He was gonna go to the agent doing the open houses. Because now he's realizing that's the agent that's actually out here on the field. So it's important. I mean, if we're gonna put that work and effort on these houses, don't do it just for 1 day. Do it for 2, 3 days where it's worth your time. Okay? Yes.
If I'm doing the listing, do I have a responsibility to say, like, for a different agent? Do I need to give them, say, the leads that I got also, anything like that?
I mean, usually when you're doing your open houses, they're your leads. I do know that some agents want you to give a list, but it's mainly for follow-up. So the best way to do it is, once you have your list, right? You tell the agent, you set the record straight with the listing agent and you say, okay, the way I would approach it is, hi Pepe, I saw you have a listing and your listing has been sitting in the market for 30 days. I would appreciate if I'm able to do an open house on your listing. I'm available Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. Would that work for you? And if he says, of course, go ahead, do the open house. Then I'll tell him, my best way for me to do the open house is by cold calling and door knocking. I will make sure that I cold call and door knock 100 people. I will also have a list of everybody that stops by, and I will send you via email every agent that stopped by with their clients, and I will follow up with the people that stop by. Why? You don't care if the agent showed up, right? If an agent showed up, give that to the listing agent, say follow up with that agent. I don't know if they're gonna want to write up an offer or not. So have a list of agents, right? Most of the time they'll drop off their business card. Just collect all the business cards, take a picture of it and send it, all of them together. Don't do one by one because then that gets annoying. But do all of the business cards together, send it to the listing agent and say, these are all the agents that showed up. For the people, call everyone and just do an email to that listing agent that says, I had a total of 7 people showed up. 6 of them have agents. They weren't interested. The one that didn't have an agent, he said he didn't like the property. I will follow up with him in a week or 2 to see if he changes his mind. But that's your client.
But you don't give them the
No,
contact.
No. Only if it's the agent, then yes, because sometimes they want to follow up with them and see if their clients want to write up an offer. But if not, they're your clients, and just do give them a feedback, right? 6 people, 5 people, whatever people it was, and they want to buy, they don't want to, they're interested, or they didn't like the house. You could give them the feedback of they didn't like the house because they had carpet, or they didn't like the color of the house, or they didn't, whatever they tell you, it's a good feedback to give the listing agent, so the listing agent could take it back to the seller and say, during our last open house, the 7 people that showed up didn't like it because it had carpet. So now if the house is not moving for 30 days, we know maybe because of the carpet, right? Maybe if we change the carpet, it'll make a difference in if we're able to sell the house or not. Okay, any other questions?
For when you're doing it for another agent, because you had mentioned if it's ours, where you put in the MLS, like when you're doing the open house hours, etc. But if it's for somebody else, you can't do that, I'm assuming, correct?
So no, so basically the other agent will put it on the MLS for you.
And if they don't do it, it just.
No, I mean, it's common courtesy that they do, and remember, the house has been sitting in the market, or even if it hasn't been sitting in the market for 30 days, they're obviously letting you do the open house because they want to move it, right? So they know that by exposing it on the MLS, then you're gonna get more traffic, which,
So they normally would.
correct, they normally will go and update the MLS with your information. So going back and touching into that, when it's your listing, like I was answering the question on Zoom, Usually the best practice to do it is, again, this is now your listing, right? You have to put all your effort and energy onto making sure that your listing has at least 100 people stopping by it, so we could get as much traffic as possible. So how do we prepare for that? Well, the same way where we get all the information on our house, right? Like schools, shopping centers, freeways, even like what restaurants are in the area, or how popular are they? I mean, I always go as far as even going to try the food and saying, hey, I tried the hamburgers in this corner, and they're great, right? So you could have something to, have a conversation with the people stopping by. Again, sending out the photographer, getting the best pictures possible for this open house. Obviously, way before that, you have to prepare it with the seller, if it's empty, if it's staged. There's so many factors into that. But once you get through all that and you do the photos, then doing the flyers, we want flyers that attract, right? A lot of the flyers out there don't have like how many bedrooms, how many baths, square footage, parking, any nice features, the year it was built. I mean, if I got $1 for every single time someone walks through the open house and says, what year was this built? And then if you don't have it on the flyer, they're gonna keep on asking you. Because they're gonna forget, they're gonna go around and they're gonna, but if it's on your flyer, then they know what year it was built, that's important. Another thing that's important to have on your flyer, if you have social media, people put on your Instagram, your Instagram name on there or whatever, it's important so that these people can follow you. We wanna generate as many leads as possible. Sometimes they'll just take your flyer, they don't even give you their phone number, but if they have your information with them, they might not take your business card because they don't care about you just yet, but they care about this house, right? They stop by to see it. So it's important that the flyer has all that. So preparing the flyer, obviously going and introducing yourself to the neighbors. If you're the listing agent, you want every single neighbor to know that you're the listing agent for this house. And it could be as easy as you saying, hi, I'm the listing agent for your neighbor's house on blah, blah, blah. The house is empty. If you see anything, let me know. Here's my number, call me. If you don't want them to know it's empty, then just say, if you have any concerns or questions, please call me. We're gonna be having an open house on the weekend. Please stop by. I would really appreciate if you came to give us your feedback on how you think we did with the house, if it's priceful, anything to get them in this door, right? So inviting the neighbors, doing the brokers open is also nice. Because then now you have other agents coming by to see the house and hopefully they have clients for this house. And then obviously putting it out on public for just regular open houses for everybody else. Okay, lead generation conversation. I mean, you guys want to do some conversation on lead generating, how we could maybe do role play on cold calling or door knocking? Maybe one person?
Maybe door knocking.
Door knocking, okay. So you're inviting me to your open house.
Ready to open up.
Okay, so,
No. Right.
hi, how can I help you?
Hi there, my name is David. I'm actually a local realtor with Keller Williams. We're doing an open house right across the street from you. So I'm just stopping by for the neighbors to let them know to come on down and just, we go have some refreshments, some cheese there.
I'm not gonna buy, I'm gonna die here in my house
Oh,
forever.
yeah, no, it's not about you selling your home or even purchasing a second home. It's just a 1 year, invite you just, with the neighbors, everybody there. just
Yeah, I don't like
having a
my
good
neighbors,
time.
they're all noisy and they're always partying and they're too young. I don't like my neighbors.
Yeah, all right, if you change your mind and wanna have a glass of wine and just, spend some time there with us, it'll be on Tuesday from 2 to 6. And I'll be, I'm expecting you to see you there, so.
Perfect. What else could he have added or done different?
I got no to, so.
You could have asked more questions instead of,
More questions? Okay,
so to get you
yeah,
talking, so he knows more about you.
okay, maybe like what kind of questions?
Oh, like, it seems like you've really had a bad experiences in this neighborhood. Can you tell me more about it? Just, I'm curious. Is there something that I should be aware of?
Maybe pushing me to sell because I hate my neighbors? Maybe I can find you a better home, where you don't have noisy neighbors. Okay, that's good. Anybody else wants to role play? No, okay. The one thing I always tell people when I go, if, door knocking to invite them to the open house is, I wanna get your input. Especially if this house has been cleaned out and the neighbor doesn't live there and it's an empty house. We wanna kind of, invite them and say, we just want your input, right? And I always try asking, could you tell me what's your favorite restaurant in the area? Because now it's all about them answering questions, right? And that way you could actually take the information they give you and promote it during your open house. Your neighbors say that the restaurant across the street has great, micheladas, or they have great dessert. Because now the neighbors said that, right? Even though you haven't tried it, but the neighbors are saying that they have the best desserts in town, or, bread is done daily on, I don't know, or something that the neighbors could give. So I always try to get that information from the neighbors. And I feel that that's a great way for them to start engaging, because now they kind of like talking to you. Now they want to come and stop by and see you in the open house, because they're like, yeah, we talked to that realtor. She's nice, remember, we want them to promote us. We want them, to actually push our business. So another way would be, well, do you know someone that wants to be your neighbor? Right? Do you have someone that wants to move into your area that you could give them this flyer to? If not, if they don't want to necessarily, like, if you don't want to necessarily stop by my open house, could you give this flyer to your best friend, your cousin, your sister, your coworker that's looking for a house to stop by, and just tell them, to say that you referred, right? And that way they start sending people your way. Okay? Update contacts and follow-ups. So this is important. We're gonna door knock, we're gonna cold call all around this open house. We're gonna actually hold the open house open for, 1, 2, 3 days, however many days, and we're getting all these phone numbers. And what happens to the phone numbers? Some people just throw them out. They don't put them on their database. They don't follow up with them. Again, even if they told you right then and there, we don't like it, we hated the house, follow up with them. To say, hi, I'm just doing a follow-up, but everybody that stopped by our open house, I wanted to see, if you were interested in me sending you other homes in the areas that, that fit your criteria. I mean, make notes. Remember what they didn't like on this house. You don't want to ask them the same question. Can you remind me why you didn't like the house? Well, we told you, you weren't paying attention. But now you're asking them, do you want me to send you other options, right? Do you want me to send you, maybe if this was a 2-bedroom, do you want me to send you all the 3 bedrooms in Carson? Or do you want me to send you all the homes with 2 bathrooms in Torrance? Right? Or do you want me to send you homes with a bigger square footage? Because I remember you told me that this house was small, right? So maybe now you're asking them, is it okay if I send you other options? Because if they say yes, please send me other homes. Now you could just put them on, go on the MLS and put them on there and just find them all these homes. And now they're saying like, wow, this guy is working hard for me, because they're gonna think you hand selected 20 homes for them when you really just put them on the system and it did it on their own, but now it's looking like you're working for them. And then obviously putting them on a follow-up, Command has a great way to send weekly, monthly emails, texts that help you follow up with these clients. It's important that we keep on following up with them, because this is gonna be your database for the future. Okay, celebrate success. So this is important, because sometimes we do all this hard work and then we only get one person showing up. But that's important. At least we got one person showing up, right? It's better than nothing. I mean, sitting here in the office wasn't gonna get you not even one person showing up. So even if it's one person showing up, then that's important. It's step by step. I mean, we're not gonna expect on our first open house to get a listing appointment and, a buyer appointment and all this. I mean, we have to take it step by step, baby steps. Okay, enrichment, use Command, like I was saying, to connect and help you. There's so many ways in there, like, that you could utilize the videos and, going back again to, them doing the touch of every week, every month, the follow-up. It's important that you guys follow up with all these people. Okay, Then let's prepare for the next session, that's gonna be social media. Any Haas? On this open house? Questions? What are we gonna do? After this, I mean, you guys all obviously said here through this class, what are we gonna do different, or how are we gonna get our next open house, or do you guys plan on getting your next open house?
I just want to
Yes.
say that the biggest aha I got today is that we are not actually selling the house in an open house. We are selling us.
Yes, that's important. I mean, we sometimes, we're so concerned about selling the house and, we're not realizing that what we're trying to get is, I mean, obviously, if we could sell the house, it's like, jackpot, but, we're selling ourselves, right? So we could get leads, so people could start liking us and we could start getting, people to trust us and work with us. Okay, so are we all gonna go and, call the homes available and see if we could do an open house this weekend? That's, okay, well, I think that's it for today. I know it was a little shorter, but we didn't get as many, people engaged onto it. Hopefully next time we could engage a little bit more. Thank you so much for participating. And if you guys have questions, my office is just, in the corner. If you guys have any one-on-one questions that you want to ask or anything, please feel free to reach out. Okay, and I wish everybody best of luck. Thank you.
And one of my friends put my name under it. But I've never used it, and he's not really using that either. He's just he sells like maybe $1 a year, but he's an accountant. So what can I do? Like, how does that work? Like, can I do open house for somebody? Or be under the middle game?
So, yeah, hey, let's pretend to come on, everybody here. That will get me to read next to any agent. Basically, you have like, this particular kind of house, you could do the open house for that house, even if that meeting is not tomorrow. Yeah, you can do that, as long as they can pick.
Probably do best in the future. If I want to like save 20 years, like, or just go to front desk and say,
Okay, so-